Welcome back to another episode of Day to Day with Daidrien, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have with me Mr. Michael. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me out.
It's all good, man. I'm just excited for season 2, and we just breaking it in, man, with new guests, and I'm more than appreciated to still be continuing to do something like this.
Yeah.
Because it's extremely. I think what gets hard is the consistency.
Oh, yes.
That consistency, man, gets a little tough sometimes, but you got to
Uh-huh.
find the time to speak to your audience, man.
Yeah. Then the consistency and then the innovation, way to be very innovative, bring
Uh,
new things to the table.
Absolutely, man. So I did a little bit of research and I seen that
Yeah.
you have a podcast of your own.
Oh, yeah. I do. Midas drop. We are Midas print.
Midas Print, huh?
Yeah.
So tell me about that Midas. Where'd you get the name from?
It's kind of because before I was an actual teacher, ninth grade world geography teacher. Um, I was a substitute teacher, and I started reading about Midas touch.
Okay.
That whole story. I never read it before, but um, the idea kind of came from me writing a lot, writing in a journal because I wanted to. I was an inspired writer,
Okay.
and I came up with Midas Angelo at first.
Okay.
And then I was like, that's just me as an individual, but what about a community?
Right.
That where everybody's a creator, a writer, or entrepreneur. So I came up with Midas print because everybody has a thumb.
Yeah.
And everybody has those three things in common, which is time, effort, and energy.
Time, effort, and energy,
Yeah.
man. These are most important. Most important. So you said that you read a story about Midas.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
King Midas, where he made a wish. I think it was he made a wish, and his wish was granted that everything he touched turned to gold.
Okay.
And but in real life, that thing is the same for everybody else, but it's called alchemy.
Alchemy.
Yeah.
What's alchemy?
Alchemy is basically the process where you turn lead to gold.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I wouldn't say it's kind of like a magical process, but you also have to do the work. It's kind of like faith without works is dead, and work without faith is dead.
Absolutely,
So in the
man.
Bible, with James,
Yeah.
1, it talks about that. It talks about the Midas touch.
Okay.
Yeah, in a
O-
way.
Okay. So what inspired you to start that journey?
Um, just I think at that time I was going through a lot. So I started a family. I was building a family. I just started one. I was building one. So my son was like 2 years old at the time, but me and his mom split up.
Okay.
And at that time, I was doing a lot of soul searching because I had problems on my own, traumas on my own.
Okay.
And the best thing for me to do that I've always done as a child
Okay.
was writing, because journals were cheap, a pencil is cheap,
Yeah.
and I'm a school teacher, so I can always get a journal. I can always get a pencil
Absolutely.
and write anytime.
You know, I understand the power of that because I recently went through some of my own,
Yeah,
and that's all I had was
yeah,
a piece of paper and a pencil.
exactly.
And I'm gonna tell you something, man. Those instruments are powerful, man. And that's where
Exactly.
it started for me too.
Yeah,
It's crazy that you say that because I started my podcast right after that.
yeah.
And I wrote in my journal all
Hmm.
the time. I didn't even have a journal. I had nothing.
Yeah.
And I made my way to like Office Max, and I had
Hmm.
bought that stuff, man. I got to it.
Yeah.
And I was able to put my thoughts on a piece of paper. And that's so important because many people won't do that. And
Yeah.
that take a lot of self-awareness at the same time.
Yes.
Because even though you don't have somebody to get your thoughts out to,
Yeah.
that can become very toxic.
Yeah.
And having a way to let your thoughts escape, even if nobody hears it, feels a whole lot better.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? So, and that really helped me a lot. And it when I look back at it into this day, it
Mhm.
showed me how much I've grown.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create a platform and so that people can come onto the podcast and
Yeah.
also have a voice or have something they want to talk about to get it off their mind.
Yeah.
I remember not too long ago, I used to work for a company called Lifetime.
Uh-huh.
And at Lifetime, I used to get in trouble all the time for talking to the customers. It's crazy, man. I got in trouble all the time for talking to the customers. And I'm like, this is my job.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm here, I can provide the company with employee, they call it customer retention.
Yeah.
And, you know, I used to get in trouble because I used to be a great conversationalist, and people used to come to the gym just to have a conversation. And, you know, they had made a big deal about people being at the front desk.
Yeah.
And it being all cluttered up there. And I'm like, well, listen, these people are paying customers.
Yeah.
And if they want to talk to me, they can talk to me. They told me, I kid you not, they told me, give them 5 minutes of my time and tell them how to get back to work. You know how silly I'm gonna look telling somebody I got to get back to work and I'm just standing there because I got nothing to do because my job is to talk to you.
Right.
So, you know, I got into it with a few people in leadership about that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, listen, I'm not gonna tell these people paying customers and their membership's not cheap.
Yeah.
That they got 5 minutes to talk to me. Because what's the difference from me talking to a member and me helping a member for the same amount of time? There's no difference to it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? Okay, so do you want me to tell the same person who actually needs my services you got 5 minutes? Because I'm not gonna sit up here and do one for the other and not the other one.
Yeah.
So it's just like, nah, I ain't doing that. And there I discovered that I had a gift that when I, you know, talk, people like to listen.
Yeah.
And people used to congregate all the time and it used to help them and they used to come back, especially the youth. And I'm telling people like, hey, like, you know, people are seeing this and they're like, if their kids like you, they're gonna keep paying for this.
Oh yeah. Yeah. For sure.
You know?
For sure. Cause when cause I have a son and I bring my son to the gym and they have a play area.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want the customer service to be having a nasty attitude.
Right.
Right. I wouldn't want to bring them back. And people take out the customer and customer service all the time because people want their money's worth.
Right.
And $40 for a membership, give them their money's worth.
Man, these people.
And you gonna be spending your time there anyways.
Anyway, these people were paying. Some of them was paying $230, $222.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Some people were paying basic membership. The basic membership was $107.17 because I used to sell them.
Oh.
And I used to do a good job. I remember this one person that used to be in competition, and I didn't even know that if you saw somebody up, because I didn't look that deep into the MMS system.
Yeah.
And if you sign somebody up, it's a percentage. And I was always leading that percentage and was unconscious of it. I was just doing my job.
Yeah.
And because I actually enjoyed being there. Whole time, that person was in competition for what reason, I don't know. And it caused problems.
Yes, competition is so toxic. It's the first toxic trait that anybody can have.
We on the same team.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I mean, competition is good when it's like, you got that positive competition. You got the competition where I'm like, I'm gonna just take you out, and it shouldn't be that way if you're on the same team.
It's the same team. If we hit our quota for the month, everybody get the bonus.
Yeah.
So it's crazy because people used to come up there and talk to me, and they didn't used to talk to that person.
Yeah.
And I remember one time I'm standing at the front desk, and it's a crazy story. And I forgot his name, but he was a boxer.
Yeah.
And he was walking out, and he's always real loud when he speaks to me. And then and that person was like, well, I didn't get that kind of response. And he was like, that's GQ right there. And then he walked out the door, and I didn't even turn around. I was just like,
yeah,
you walked into that one, you know? You walked into that one. So tell me a little bit about, you said you were a teacher?
Yeah. World geography, 9th grade teacher.
Okay. Where do you teach at?
I teach at C. King 9th grade campus.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only been open for 2 years now.
Yeah, that's a pretty big campus.
Yeah. For 9th grade, yeah, it's pretty big.
Would you say the kids nowadays are completely different from the kids that's how long you been teaching?
This is my first year.
First year?
But I've been subbing, so
okay.
Yeah, I can tell the difference.
In behavior?
Oh, big time.
Man, I got to give it to you teachers, man, because kids these days, no respect.
Man, so the only way you could last if you know how to really conversate with them.
Okay.
Like customer service. Because they understand you a teacher, but they realize that the work really don't take an hour of classwork.
Right.
So you, in between the work itself, you gotta expand in the communication sector with them. So you can't just be just teaching and that's it.
You got to build a relationship.
Yeah, because you in competition with TikTok, Instagram, and then
Twitter, Snapchat,
all the things they have on their phone.
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah, so like they have a dopamine itch already. They have an addiction to their phone already because these kids, were in the pandemic and going to school during the pandemic. But keep in mind that I also have insight before the pandemic because I was a sub then.
Right.
I was subbing at Aldine ISD for Grantham Academy. That was my first time subbing.
I went to school in Aldine.
For real?
Yeah, I went to a specialty school. I was in the magnet program.
Okay.
And I don't know if you heard of Carver, but I went to Carver High School.
No, I didn't hear Carver.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's number 1 or 2 at the time in the district. And above us was Victory. But Victory was a community college. At the same time, you had like one little section for high school students.
Yeah.
And you had a very select few, and it was less of them. So if you have 2 people in the class and they pass the test, and they based the percentages off the test.
Yeah.
And if you got 2 people in the class versus 50 at Carver, if one person passed or failed the test, it's a 50% passing rate versus a person at Carver. So it was a lot easier for them to get higher passing rates because it was less kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So and it's because man, I can't tell you that phone stuff when I was in high school, bro,
non-existent.
Bro, it was
almost.
Man, I remember I used to get.
You had to sneak.
You had to sneak that. Go to the restroom. Yeah, I remember that, man. I remember one time you get caught with that phone on a Friday. If they catch you on your phone on a Friday, they confiscate it and you get it back on Monday.
Exactly.
That's how it was when I was in school.
Now I was calling your parents. Your parents were having to come get the phone.
They had to come get the phone. And they had to pay to get the phone.
Exactly.
And I was like, this is wild. Not only that, if you get caught with the phone too many times, you go to SAC.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you, man, I used to go to a school. It was Carver. And if you showed up late, they did a tardy sweep. If you showed up late.
Yeah, they still do that.
Bro. If
they still do a tardy sweep.
If you show up late till first period, you got to go to SAC all day.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I was like,
that was small school, right?
Carver wasn't a small school. I think our graduating class, I think a senior class was pretty small. I believe I think the class was, I don't know, 120, 180.
Oh yeah, it was slightly bigger than mine. I was ranked 39 out of like 69 kids.
So okay, so I get confused on my ranking because we was on a different scale because we were a specialty school.
Yeah.
I don't know, you got 4.0 scales and 5.0 scales?
Yeah, you do got 5.0 scale.
I think we was on that 5.0 scale.
Yeah.
So my rank on that scale is like, for instance, when I transferred to Nimitz, I was like, I think I went to like rank number like 30 or 20.
Yeah.
And at Carver, I believe I was like, man, it was a pretty low percentile.
Yeah.
But because they took me from that 5.0 scale to that 4.0 scale.
Yeah.
So I was top of my class just by transferring to Nimitz.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can't remember the equation that they use, but like ranking there is ranking twice as good at a regular school.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we used to do that, man. I remember those days. People used to run the class first period. You went there about 7:15. You got sacked all day.
Oh, bruh.
Man, I used to hate going to school because of that. Man.
Yeah, but it is different. When I was first subbing, the kids barely were on their phone. It was crazy. When I look back, I was teaching 8th grade. And this is like 2018, beginning of 2018, and they barely were on their phone versus now. They always on their phone.
Yeah, that's when I graduated.
Yeah, you got it. It's like you fighting that. I graduated 2014. So that's crazy. Like we was sneaking.
Yeah,
like,
we were sneaking. I remember, man, these days are gone, but I remember passing notes.
Yeah.
You ever did like pass notes, man?
Pass notes.
Having to pass them notes, but that's when school was good. Now it's like I don't know what's going on now.
So these kids, man, they not having, excuse my language, they ain't having this shit. For some reason, I don't know what happened. I have to say that because that's what I was told by one kid. I ain't having this shit. What do you mean? Give up my phone.
Straight up told you that?
Yes. These kids cuss a lot more and they need a lot more attention. And that's not their fault. So
Okay,
I
explain
can't,
that.
it's not their fault because they don't understand what's really going on. As far as, because they going through a lot. Ninth grade,
Did
13,
you
14, 15,
okay,
puberty.
okay, so when you were in the ninth grade, would you say that you understood what was going on and you was aware of discipline?
I was well aware of discipline because I was a military brat.
Mm,
So I had raised by my grandparents a little bit, and then my father was in my life for 10 years, and he was a very huge and disciplinary. And
right.
then my mother was a staff sergeant, so
Oh
disciplinary
wow.
was everywhere. Um, so I can't really compare myself to them because if we had to compare lives,
Mhm.
I'm blowing them out the water when it comes to
Do you think it's gonna
disciplinary
get
issues.
do you think it's gonna get better or worse without that form of discipline? Because if
It's gonna get worse because the
so
parents don't care.
so would you say that okay,
Well,
so
not all of them.
at some point, you know, we gotta start holding some accountability because it's not gonna now it's hard to do
Yeah,
that for a ninth grader. It's
yeah,
hard. And that's you really can't really help much out with that besides your own little one.
yeah.
And knowing the world you're going into
Uh
with
huh.
the education system and the
Uh
way
huh.
society is going,
Yeah.
how do you feel about your little one being raised in this world?
Homeschool.
You go homeschool?
Yeah. So my biggest thing right now is trying to get his mom to cut like be cool with the idea.
Okay.
Like I'm willing to pay whatever it is, you know,
Mm.
um, because I can read fantastic. I have books for my son
Yeah,
to
you're a
read.
teacher.
Yeah, but I always was reading before I was a teacher. I
Right.
just love reading, and because you can't write a book if you don't read. It
Correct.
just makes sense. And then she's really good at math, and you want to be the only person that teaches your son because you have the biggest influence.
Absolutely.
Once you get him off to school, there's peer pressure, and I've dealt with peer pressure. But like I said, I had the best discipline in my life, like that I'm very grateful for.
Right.
That was whenever there was peer pressure, I was a standalone
Mm. I
because
know
I
the
already knew
feeling.
what was gonna happen.
Yeah, I was the same way, man.
Yeah,
I went to a private school before I went to the magnet program,
yeah.
and this school was allowed to whoop you.
Oh wow, yeah,
Yeah, so I know, and I think we were okay. So in that district, well, not that district, but that
yeah.
type of school, we were
Uh
learning at
huh.
an advanced rate.
Yeah,
So the work I was doing was 2 to 3 grades ahead.
yeah.
So when I got to, and I had to test in or win the lottery, I believe, to be able to go to the magnet program.
Oh wow.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
And I was in the magnet program from third grade to 12th grade year, and
Uh
then I
huh.
transferred and got out the magnet program into another school because we didn't have sports. We specialized in two things: performing arts and engineering.
Oh wow. That's
That's
great.
that's all we had, and we had to ride a shuttle bus
Uh huh.
to another other schools just to play sports.
Mm.
So in my home school at the time was I think I only played sports fatigue, and then after that it was Nimitz. But when I got to
Yeah.
Nimitz, man, Nimitz had like culinary arts. They had all the fashion class. They had all these classes,
Yeah.
and I'm like, why doesn't our program offer this?
Yeah.
And just I remember trans when I transferred, I was talking to the AP,
Yeah.
and he was like, "What did you?" He's like, "I remember this. I remember this because my mom was sitting right there, and I remember she was like, "Where did you come from?" And I was like, because I was just different, and he was
Yeah.
like, "You came from Carver." Now I went from the number one school in Aldine to
Uh
the
huh.
last
Wow.
ranking school in Aldine. They gave out paper that we can transfer to any school we chose to,
Yeah.
because that's how bad the school was doing.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So he looks at me. He was like, "You want to try to go back?" The AP told me
For
this.
real.
The AP told me this, and my mom looks at me and she sighs. And I was like, I was like, they told me before I left
Yeah.
I would lose my spot. And my mom, she was like, let me try calling him. So she called him. She called him. I'm like, bro, listen, like, it is what it is. Right? So she was like, unfortunately, he can't come back.
Yeah.
I went to when I got to Nimitz, bro, I did so much work. The work was so easy. I
Yeah.
took advanced animation, all of that stuff, and I it's insane on how easy it was. And I think I went from like having like B's and B's and low A's to
Yeah.
all A's.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even turning in work. So I'm like, bro, where am I?
Man.
Where am I? But it's like to bring us to get back on topic a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, and I know that you wanted to homeschool. What difficulties do you think will come into the way by trying to propose that to his mother? Is she the one with custody right now?
Nah, we got joint custody.
Joint. Oh, that's
But
good.
the difficult is just not wanting to change a societal norm, which is sending your kid off to school. But I don't ever follow those societal norms. I was always taught to think for myself. Whatever questions I had to go look for it myself.
I'm the same way.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It requires a certain type of discipline to go want to do that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Wanting to go to the library to read books, taking out your own time to do that. That's self-care. That's like the best thing you can actually do for yourself.
Yeah.
And partying, you know what I'm saying, all the time.
Yeah.
So,
and having that mindset going into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
When I say I went the other way,
Yeah.
I went the other way. And I told myself, because I have the same mindset you do, on going to pioneer on your own way.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, let me try this entrepreneurship out.
Yeah.
And I gave it a try, but it's successful so far.
Yeah.
But the stuff that I learned, I don't know if you in the aspect of I'm into business acquisitions as well, other than the podcast. And what that is buying assets. Either asset purchases or entity purchases. So I can for instance, an asset purchase would be this phone. So a company can sell their trademarks or their equipment that they use to make money. Or you can buy the entire corporation. Right. And what I've learned is it's crazy, but it's far easier to get in something like that and pioneer their own way than it is to go and try to get another job. Because I was like, it's gonna take me realistically, it takes about 3 months, 2 months to get comfortable in a job.
Yeah, it really does.
It take a little while.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'd rather try to go learn entrepreneurship. And I went down that way where I just went and I started reading stuff and reading stuff and reading stuff. And I came across some information, dude, that's insane. And I've been studying it ever since.
Yeah.
For instance, have you ever heard of debt? I think it's called debt rescission.
Debt rescission?
Debt rescission.
Nah, I ain't heard about that.
Debt rescission is, and it's crazy, but it's legal.
Yeah.
Is where you send back the debt that you accomplished.
Oh, resigning contracts, basically.
Basically, yes.
Okay.
Basically. So if you got an auto loan, you can send that back and keep the car.
Are you talking about like owning the title, actual title to the car, or no?
No, because you would technically you would never really own the car.
Yeah.
So it's far as like because what happens is when you go to a bank, you get an auto loan, there's a lot of laws to this.
Yeah.
But what I realized is banks aren't allowed to lend money.
Yeah, consumer laws.
Consumer laws.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. So you into that.
Yeah, I've been learning.
Yeah.
I've been learning, man. I'm like, not too many people know.
Not too many people know that. But
if you're a reader, you're gonna lead the way.
You're gonna lead the way. I think it's US code. I think it's US code 12-1431A. I could be wrong.
Title what?
Title. It was powers and duties of the bank.
Huh?
Powers and duties of the bank.
I think Title 18 maybe.
I think it's either 8. It's
know.
either 8 or 12.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm looking at it and it's saying, and this is gonna trip you out, but some people don't know this.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to share this with the audience. And you guys can go down the rabbit hole for yourselves and try to figure this stuff out. But I'm not lying to you. This is real. And it's so crazy that you would think it's illegal and it's not.
It's not.
But the bank is only allowed to borrow, I believe it's borrow and pay interest thereon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one more that I'm forgetting about that they're allowed to do. Now, since they're the only corporation that can pay interest, when I was reading the bill of exchange, the only way to pay a bill is with interest.
Yeah.
And the only person as an entity, if you track the etymology down of the word person,
it
means entity.
Yeah.
And
that's what we prefer to refer to as, because we're a corporation, basically.
Corporation, once you file the LLC, right.
Yeah.
But we're all consumers until then.
Yeah.
And I realized, and because why this is possible is because we're under the obligation of the United States.
Yeah.
Because of our birth certificates.
Yep.
So it's crazy because if
and your social security card.
And your social security card. So if it's crazy. So why am I liable? Let me backtrack. If you had a dog and the dog breaks out the fence and bites somebody, who's liable? You are, exactly. So if I go get an auto loan, right? I'm legally not responsible for my obligations.
Yeah.
Who's responsible for it?
The bank.
The United States.
Yeah, exactly. United States.
The bank. So people don't know this. And I know it's like 1%.
They the actual borrowers and you the actual lender.
Exactly. We are the creditors and they are the debtors. Yeah. Exactly. And they trick the whole population into thinking that yes, they trick the whole population. Exactly. Yeah. To thinking that we are in debt.
That's crazy.
We are in debt to them. Yeah. But in reality, they're in debt to us. Because every time they run your social, they're taking money from this. I think it's called your Sister K Trust.
Yeah, Sister
KV.
Sister KV.
Yep.
Trust.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Man. It's not really common that you run into somebody who knows this type of stuff.
I'm looking for people, man. So it's crazy. But yeah,
How long you been reading into
that? Since 2021.
Oh wow. So you got some. You've been doing it for a while, man. I just got onto this.
I like it on and off, but like I just been trying to like get into it, and I've been making moves and get into it because a trust is like the language.
Yeah, trust law.
It's the most respected of law.
Yep.
Trust law.
And trust law, I think that's AKA air law.
Yeah.
So what's above that? What's above all laws is contract law. Because you're the only thing that has value is your signature.
Yep.
Because all money is debt.
Yeah. It's nothing backing it. Since 1913, since Nixon?
Since 33.
Yeah.
Franklin D. Roosevelt took the gold. I think he abrogated the gold standard.
Yeah.
So money was backed by nothing, making all money public debt. Because in the Constitution, I think is I'm gonna be wrong on that one. It's like 3 different titles you got to go down, but the only way to pay a debt is with gold and silver.
Yeah.
Who own the gold and silver?
We don't.
It's crazy how it's crazy, bro. That FDR signed an executive order for Americans to relinquish their gold and gold in their gold bonds in exchange for credit,
and we using dollars.
We're using dollars.
Dollars is not credit.
Man, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys take anything from this video, it would be to start to learn how to leverage the credit and debt monetary system, because that right there, you leverage that to get FRNs, Federal Reserve notes, and you use that to leverage. You use OPM to leverage OPT, and that's the #1 highest income skill you can have.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to do. And we can show you how to do those things. I have a great team that can point you in the right direction. If you have any questions on that type of stuff, feel free to leave a comment or shoot me a DM, and I can point you in the right direction. But it all stems from credit. Credit is your lifeline. Credit is your lifeline to success.
Yep. And America is backed by the full faith and credit of the people.
They stole. That they stole. It's crazy, bro. And that's how they bankrupt. It's crazy how the Federal Reserve was established right before the First World War.
Yeah. And then I wouldn't say, I'm not going to spread the rumor, but it's a possibility we'll be going to another one. Yeah.
Another one, absolutely. But if you know how to leverage the credit and debt monetary system, you have somewhat of a fighting chance. And I can't tell you, man, because history always repeats itself. And I'm sure that you read into a lot of that history.
It's repeating itself now. Another industrial revolution. This time it's gonna be robots, and they are already showing us.
Yeah, that's crazy. Videos, man. And that's at the very beginning of my podcast journey, somebody asked me. I can't remember who asked me this question, but it was like, "Who is the greatest threat to your business?" And people started laughing at me.
Yeah,
people like, It was like I said, it was AI.
Yeah.
AI intelligence, and they started laughing. I'm like, bro, you don't understand. Because right now they're using AI tech to try to fix people's credit.
Yeah.
The whole machine, a whole machine, and what makes it worse is it's gonna make people lazy and
Yeah.
not want to read.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna, man, I can see this getting real bad.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have great foresight based off the knowledge you have read and what's starting to come into fruition. Do you plan on staying in America or do you plan on leaving?
That's funny because before I even thought about that, my main goal was to move to Thailand.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Why Thailand?
I just like its forecast and then the people there,
Okay.
the trees, the elephants. I don't know. I just have
It's
I,
just your
I also
calling.
like Muay Thai, so I don't really know. I just know I can see myself there,
Okay.
but I also want to build something there. So a private resort.
That's
That was one of
actually
the goals. So it's
that's
like,
doable.
why not?
That's doable. It all starts with that LLC,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And you get those trust set up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Once you do that, you're gonna be
Start to
untouchable.
maneuver and everything. So
Yeah, but that's the part I'm on right now.
yeah, but we young, so because we learning this, it's gonna get easier because you're gonna become so familiar with the consumer rights, the laws, the way to move trust and business and all that stuff. So
Absolutely. And for those who don't know what consumer law is over maritime law. Maritime
yeah.
law is a law they use to govern us,
Hmm.
well, some of us. And then over consumer law, you have common law. Common law,
Yeah.
supreme law. That's the law of the land. That's the Constitution. And then above supreme law is contract law because that supersedes everything. And that's where they get us.
Yeah.
That's where they get us, man.
Contracts all the time.
Contracts every single time, man. And right now, I'm finna try sending this bill back, and I'm probably gonna sue for all the back pay and get
Hmm.
that back for the phone bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that it's crazy what you gonna learn when you start reading this stuff.
That's why they don't want nobody to read.
Yeah, yeah.
Once you
You
start to
know,
read, you start to feel like, man, what critical thinking starts to kick in.
kick in, yeah. But it's man, you're gonna end up drinking a whole bottle of Don Julio because this ain't nothing. This ain't easy to understand.
No, it's
It's not
not.
easy to understand, man.
But it's like if you read enough, and for me it was hard at first,
Hmm.
but I kept reading bits and pieces,
Yeah,
reading bits and pieces,
yeah,
and then I'm like, eventually just click. I'm like, oh, that's what that is. It's been like it's always like the truth is right up under your nose,
exactly.
but because you don't give it enough attention
Yeah,
to even get your mind to even process
because
it,
that's yeah,
it's
because
not
that's
gonna
different.
focus.
Yeah, and people sit up here and say they hate the government, but the government has given you the best weapon they can possibly give you, especially HJR Resolution Act. That right there, that right there is your ticket to freedom. You
Yeah.
ever wonder why is the more like there we shouldn't be going through a depression
Yeah.
or recession. Like we shouldn't be going through any of this stuff. Unemployment.
Yeah.
Like doesn't it seem like for the people who are listening to this, doesn't it seem like the more you work
The
and the more
less you
you
make.
the less you make? It didn't used to be like that, but I'm gonna give you an alternative. If you read the Bill of Exchange and you read HJR, the Resolution Act, and just start there, you're not gonna understand it, but that's okay. But keep
Yeah.
reading it. Keep reading that. The best thing they ever did was that Resolution Act. It was supposed to just be resolution, but
Yeah.
that became law,
Yeah.
and it's not gonna change.
It's
It's not
not.
gonna change. So for those of you who are looking to break into financial freedom, that's something that you definitely want to learn about. Also, once you start to accumulate wealth, and you will, because I believe in you, once you
Yeah.
start to accumulate wealth, you're gonna need these to protect yourself.
Mhm.
So you want to make sure that you're pretty versatile in these aspects, and it's gonna stress you out. But you also want to get a etymology dictionary to track down what the word actually means.
Yeah.
You want to track that word down because reading it face value is going to confuse you, and that's what it's meant to
Yeah.
do. But Congress have given you the greatest weapon you can possibly need to be able to survive. All you have to do is read it. One part I am on though
Yeah.
is how to get money because I know the process of rescission, but I'm stuck on the part where you when you get paid from the treasury, because Congress get
Yeah.
paid from treasury. They don't get paid from the bank. They get paid
Yeah,
from the
yeah, yeah.
treasury. So I'm on that part on how to get the money from your treasury, and it's hard because nobody know this type of stuff. And then the people who the people who do know it, they're gonna gatekeep.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They gonna gatekeep
That's what it's
because
all about. Because people become greedy and not knowing, and when you greedy, you don't have no sight of abundance. Really, you really don't.
you really don't.
So, because if you did, you would share
Hmm.
your information with people that actually come to you seeking that. And that's what I find interesting.
Yeah, man. I think one of my goals
Uh-huh.
is if I still remain to stay here, start a bank.
Yeah,
Start a bank, man. That's one thing I do want to do, and it's gonna cost a lot of money,
that's the main thing.
but
Start a family bank. Uh, Easily could do it through life insurance, but I'm not interested in that. Like
that
a
I
bank
heard
for
about the
real.
life insurance, and it's gonna take a while, and the money you're gonna have to generate is gonna be substantial. But it works the same with
Yeah,
all life
yeah,
insurance
yeah,
policies. It works the same. They both gonna take some time and some structure. But man, I'm on a path right now, man. Once I can acquire all this information,
yeah,
and by the time I'm in my 30s, late 40s, 50s,
yeah.
I'm probably gonna conquer. I'm gonna do the same thing the Federal Reserve did. Like I'm gonna run the same play, bro. Because
Yeah,
that's the biggest business is banking.
yeah.
That's the end goal for anybody,
Uh-huh.
and that's where it is, and it's possible.
Yeah, everybody can become the bank.
Everybody can
Their own bank.
everybody can become the bank. Also, I'm gonna give you guys some business tips. America is you can have your own opinion on this. Some people think America is a country, and some people believe America is a corporation. Now, you guys do your own research on what I just said. And if you come across will be people who have a business, this is gonna click with you. But you want to set your business up the same way America set theirs up. Because when I was looking at something the other day,
Uh-huh.
you got a president, you
Yeah.
got a secretary,
Hmm.
you got you have a vice president. All of these positions in political power are the same positions that can be in your company.
Yeah.
And it's insane. You can
It
have a
is
president of a
insane.
company, you can and it's I was like, I'm on to something.
Yeah.
I said, I'm on to something. Or
That's
you
all they really did.
Yeah, that's all they really did. Cause I'm like, bro, this is
But
when you look at it that way, oh, this is a business. President, and then
uh-huh.
you have the controllers, and then you have you have the president, your controllers, and you have your secretaries. You have
Hmm.
all these positions that you can have in your company. And
Yeah.
if you set up your company like this, you would be golden.
Yeah.
You would be golden, man. Are you interested in starting a business?
Yeah. So um I started 2022 and it failed. But now I'm gonna start again.
Okay.
This coming month, actually.
What business was that?
Um I don't even know what to call it yet. But I know it's gonna be towards my brand.
Towards your brand? Okay,
Yeah.
so what was the business that failed?
It's real estate.
Real estate. Tell
Yeah.
me, okay, what was it? What kind of real estate was it?
That one was for Airbnb. So I
Airbnb.
went. It was a business. It was something that wasn't super super risky that
Mm-hmm.
didn't cost too much money.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is because I was so excited and I wanted to. I always have a urge of like wanting to just take that leap,
Yeah.
and I'm aggressively patient, but I'm not a very patient person.
Person.
So what I did was I used my own unit that I was living in
Okay.
and rented it out. But because I didn't have much business acumen
Mm-hmm.
starting out, I didn't do the numbers.
Okay.
So what happened was I was renting it out during the good times, it was making me money. Like it was generating good money. But then once the market started to saturate,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I started going to negatives.
Okay.
And I didn't I didn't prepare for that. I didn't prepare for that type of forecast. So
Mm.
what happened is I did the thing that I've always done, which is crazy that I was able to pull it off. Is I was working 80 hours. I was working, so I did my calculations. I was a substitute teacher at the time, and I was putting in. I was a long term, so I was putting in 40 hours and then 20 hours into DoorDash and then 20
Mm.
hours in Amazon Flex. That put me in before before I even calculated Airbnb funds into $4,000 a month. But the thing about that was I was getting burnt out. So my 4,000 really didn't look like 4,000. It was actually 2,000. But my rent was being paid by Airbnb, but I wasn't staying in it.
Mm. Where were you staying?
I was staying in another Airbnb. It was
Okay.
nice,
Okay.
and I was able to like live my day to day, but it was just like it was becoming too much.
I used to do that. I used to clock in about 96 hours a week because
Yeah,
I was working 80 hours a week.
yeah,
I was working 3 lifetimes in the main job. I was working Lifetime Lake Houston, Lifetime
yeah.
Kingwood, and Lifetime Green Street. I
Oh,
would do all of those a week, and then on my main gig was I was in a, I think I was in I think it was I can't remember my title. It was accounts payable. I was in accounts payable. That's what it was.
yeah,
So I was dealing with invoices,
yeah.
and I would do that for about sometimes 50, 60 hours a week.
Hmm.
I go in overtime. Normally I clock out around because I wouldn't take lunch breaks. So
Yeah,
I would probably clock out around like 56 hours a week. And then after that I would leave my job and then go to Lifetime.
yeah.
I was doing that for a whole year.
Hmm.
And then I remember like I was working all these hours and didn't have time for nothing.
Yeah.
And it got brought to my attention like this girl had told me. She was like, I told her like I take my time very seriously.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, you don't. I was like, what do you mean? No, I don't. She was like, because if you did, you wouldn't be working this much.
Yeah.
At the time, I was 19 or
Yeah.
20 years old. So I'm like, what is she talking about? And then we had a conversation within that same day. I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I was making all this money that I had time to spend it.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that just reminds me of what I was going through when I was working that many hours. And when you said that you said Amazon Flex,
Yeah.
that reminded me that I was looking into some routes. And anybody who is into business, logistics is a very good company to go into because of the rise in commerce.
Yeah.
So I was looking at a few businesses for FedEx
Yeah.
routes going for a few million. You have
Uh-huh.
some going for like 1.2 million,
Dang.
1.3 million. But if you know what I know, all
Uh-huh.
you need is 10% all you need is 10% of that to control $1 million asset,
Yeah.
right? And these routes
Uh-huh.
are remote, and you get like, so I can go buy a route in Florida
Yeah.
with like 16 trucks, and I'm in the process of doing that now.
Yeah.
And then it's the payout is like a year
Uh-huh.
400,000, and it's
Wow.
remote. So I believe when I was looking, because they're selling, it's crazy.
Yeah.
These are jobs, right? Coming into it, if you don't know enough or you do know enough, these
Uh-huh.
are jobs that you're gonna start off buying.
Yeah.
But look at the cash flow you're looking at.
Yeah.
$400,000 just to work 4 hours a day on a computer that's remote because you
Yeah.
already have 2 managers in place.
Uh-huh.
And I was pulling financials and I'm like, what was this? If I would have known this when I was 20 or
Right.
19, if somebody would have just brought this to my attention then, oh my God, I can't tell you where I'd be right now.
Yeah.
But we all end up where we're supposed to be
Yeah.
when we're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
But now, man, you got routes all over the place, dude, and they're selling these routes, and you
Uh-huh.
can buy multiple routes. So imagine you got 2 routes that's cash flowing $400,000.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Then you can hire a regional,
Yeah.
right? Because if you leverage OPM for OPT, you can just put somebody else in your spot,
Mm-hmm.
but monitor it and make sure they're doing their job. And now you cash flowing 800,000 plus,
Yeah.
right? And then how you hide that money, I'm probably familiar that because you want to get no matter how much money you make,
Yeah.
you want to be in the lowest tax bracket. So you need
Yeah.
to find out a way. If you're making 800,000, you need to find out a way to show you made 30.
Yup.
And I think doing that, easiest way is a C corp. One of the ways is a C corp, and the other one is an S corp. And then the best way is a trust. But it's
Yeah.
just complicated to set that up.
Yeah.
If you do it wrong, you're screwed.
For sure.
You're screwed.
For
So
sure.
that's one thing that I'm currently into as far as business acquisition. So I
Yeah.
buy, many other companies, and I came across this information when it mattered the most. When I was going through it, when I say I was going through it, when I had that pen and that notebook, and that's all I had, I looked at my phone and I seen uh, a coworker of mine. His name is Jason King, and he was talking, and I was like, "How do?" It was funny because he knew a guy I was already following.
Yeah,
and he was a multimillionaire.
yeah.
So I look at it, and I'm looking at the I was on TikTok. I was looking at the live, and I joined it. I joined that live.
Yeah.
Joined the mentorship for $50 a month. Changed my life. $50 a month. $50 a month changed my life. And I needed, at the time, I was like manifesting. How can I make, like, plotting on how I can survive.
Yeah.
Right. But it wasn't like that I was hurting, but it was just like, I was like, man, I want to figure out how to do it, and I want to figure out how to do it now.
Yeah.
And it happened right when it was supposed to.
Yeah.
And it kept me busy. And man, I can't tell you the journey I went on dealing with these banks and stuff. But once you set it up properly, and you hit these banks, you take that money, and go buy. It's crazy. You buy a whole business. You can buy a whole business, and I'm not making this up. You can buy a whole business off none of the money you put down. And I thought this was, what are you talking about? Like, well, huh? You can buy a business. You can buy a business with no money down.
Yeah.
If you leverage the credit and debt monetary system. I thought this was like crazy, but this is what people are doing.
Yeah.
And how they accumulated wealth.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank God I came across this information, man, because it changed your life, man. And hopefully we can continue to network and go on the path, and I can share my advice with you.
Oh yeah.
And what I've learned on my journey, because that's what it's about, paying it forward to me,
So I would like to ask, like, where were you writing down? Like, what were the things you were writing down? And I believe when you write something down and you're able to see it, you bring it to life.
Okay. So there was a few things, because in that time I just went through a breakup.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I wrote down my thoughts regarding that.
Yeah.
And when it came to that, then I started, when I joined the mentorship, I started taking notes on to what it is that I was starting to learn, writing it down, my business plans.
Yeah.
And it started to happen. But what I really wrote down was wisdom.
Yeah.
I wrote down my mistakes. I wrote down how I can fix these mistakes, how to become aware of these mistakes, how to help the person that's listening to this understand and have a accurate handle on their own agonies to be able to fix their mistakes. And that was real big for me, because I wanted this to be a platform for a lot of things, including men's mental health.
Yeah.
Because many men don't have that outlet.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's why it made me want to create this in the first place. Because like, I can sit up here and tell you all my trials and tribulations of what I went through and how you can overcome it. Because what I realized, we don't have a brotherhood.
Yeah. We don't.
And in this, and I hate,
we don't have initiation of manhood either.
Yeah, we don't have none of that stuff. And it's like, man, like, if just knowing, that a man can be hurt, and bro, you're not the only one going through what you're going through. You have other people going through the same thing that you're going through, right? And it takes a lot to sit up here and talk to this camera about my problems to help you relate to your problems and how to fix those problems, right?
Yeah.
But it takes that pioneer who's going to do it.
Yeah.
And also for women as well, because I want to help women find a better man. And I want to help men put women in a cultivating environment, because I understand every man been through pain, but every woman ain't the same.
Yeah, you're right.
And I want to help, like fellas, like, if I can say one thing, man, I understand what you're going through is hard, and most of us felt like giving up, and most of us did give it up. 80% of us, I believe, are 60 to 80% are like single, and they just call it quits. You're leaving, and I had to really realize this, but you're leaving these women with, I'm gonna say it, ain't shit people, ain't shit men.
Yeah.
And you're just gonna have, like, and I read this somewhere, that men gonna have to become stronger. I can help these men become stronger, and because it's not just about money. It's
Yeah.
about it's about it's okay. So I see it this way. You have it's a balance for me, spiritually, physically, and then financially.
Yeah.
If you're thinking money gonna solve all your problems, it's not. It's not gonna solve your problems because if you don't have a, if man, I can't. If you don't fix yourself first before you get the money, and it's possible that you can get the money and not fix yourself first. You go into the same problems. And money is all it's gonna do is provide a band-aid. But if you can find how to be happy with yourself before the money gets here, truthfully, if you find that before the money gets there, and it'll come,
Yeah.
you're already wealthy to me.
Yeah.
You are
Yeah.
already wealthy to me because somebody who doesn't need to find a reason to be happy,
Yeah.
you already winning. You are already winning. There's so many people who can't do that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They thinking money gonna fix your problem. Money's not gonna fix your problems. I think 80%, and I could be wrong, but majority
Yeah.
of people who commit suicide are people who are
Millionaires.
millionaires, people who come from money.
It's crazy.
So if you are in a if you are in the lower class or middle class and you feel like you're struggling or you feel like you don't have what it takes, I want you to pat yourself on your back right now because
Yeah.
what y'all are doing, despite everything y'all have been going through, you're still here and you're still going.
Yeah.
And that's what's most important. Right. So this is one thing too, why I wanted this platform. Because
Yeah.
once I get to where I'm going to tell everybody the same method to get to where you're going. Because it's not about just me.
Yeah.
It's enough money out here for everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. And I think I've read a quote and it's pretty true, but money allows you to be your true self.
It really shows you who you
It
are
really shows you who you are.
and what you haven't fixed.
Yeah,
I
that's a
think
good one.
the biggest thing is finding that clarity in your life. Once you find clarity before you even go to pursue what you're trying to pursue,
Yeah.
it makes it, I would say, a lot easier, but you're able to control yourself a lot more. You're able to control the narrative. And that's the thing that I um like to throw out there is controlling the narrative. Cause I get it from 50 Cent.
Mm-hmm.
When I used to watch 50 Cent, I used to play video games when I grew up. You had 50 Cent Bulletproof. Um,
Def Jam.
yeah, it was negative because it was shooting people, but he looked like a neighborhood superhero. And then you got Get Rich or Die Trying. Then you get him writing his own books.
Yeah.
Now he's writing TV shows and
yeah.
movies. So that's what I see as controlling the narrative. You built yourself up, got a skill. Obviously, you got clarity out of all of that, and decided to control the narrative for yourself.
Yeah, I think it comes down to a set of values.
Yeah.
Everybody same most of us have the same economic situation, but what it comes down to is your set of values is what's going to make you you. You can lose your job and start selling drugs, or you can lose your job and start selling newspapers. Both men have the same economic struggle, but one chose to do what the other didn't.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You don't have to be bound to the conditions of your environment. If you see your environment and you want better, then do better. But it starts up here.
Yeah.
If you can manifest what you want, it will come to fruition. And that's just how it works. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I did this every night, manifestation every night. And it's starting to happen. I kid you not. I'm not even lying. I got a text message. Actually, Hollywood called me yesterday. And Hollywood called me yesterday. And bro, yes, I'm talking. And this the real deal. And I have the messages. Actually, I got a text message a while back.
Yeah.
And then I just got the representation now. So when the strike is over, it's gonna be up from here. Cause I just talked to her yesterday. I couldn't believe it.
For Hollywood for what?
Modeling and acting.
Okay.
And she said, well, I'm not gonna get into the financials because it's man, I didn't even believe it. But I'm gonna say it anyway. Who cares? $30K a week.
Oh shit.
And then she broke it down.
Damn.
Cause she
I
was
don't
like,
know.
I'm not even doing, cause I got a book for a gig in Austin for
Yeah.
7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And then she called me, she was like, hey, we got you, we did a pitch and we got you for 7-Eleven. And I was like, she was like, it's for this amount of money. And I said, she's like, is that worth your time? And I was like, nah, not really.
Nah.
And at the same time, it's good money.
Yeah.
More money than I was making. You make that money in a day. I
Yeah.
think it was, man, you got agent fees, you got travel, all that stuff included, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of them included, but I was like, you know what, just tell them because I got a frost gig around the same time,
Yeah.
and I was just like, you know what, I was already booked for the frost gig, and that
Yeah.
gig was paying is up there, so I was just like, you know, I'm just gonna do this. So she's like, well, she was like, it's surprised that it worked. I was like, bro, when she broke down the industry, I was like, we up from here.
Yeah.
We up from here, man. And I couldn't even believe it, bro. Like, it's a lot of stuff is I got, I got a few things to do this month. And
Yeah.
then December, and then probably next year in January, it's gonna be up. And then she said that and then you get paid. So now I used to get buyouts.
Yeah.
And what a buyout is for anybody who's in modeling or acting, a buyout, well, commercial models. If you have a buyout, you're gonna get a percentage of that. You're gonna get the upfront money value then,
Yeah.
right? So it's a buyout of 2 bands,
Hmm.
right? So you get these 2 bands and you pay your taxes on it or whatever, and then you're going about your business. But then you have the same person you worked with who is the principal of that job, and they're getting paid off the reruns.
Yeah.
And I'm probably saying too much, but they're continuing to get paid, and it's crazy because she was like, yeah, they did a job last. I think he did a job last year,
Yeah.
and he's still being paid from that commercial. And I was just like, I see how I'm missing out, and she was able to guide me in the right direction. But man, I really can't wait and to see what 2024 has in store. But that goes back to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
With manifestation, I used to think about that every day, and here it is.
Yeah.
I haven't even signed a contract yet, and I'm getting work.
Exactly.
It's like, bro, it's like this is unheard of. This type of that is unheard of. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
That just does not happen. And I'm extremely grateful for it and everything else as far as businesses, my modeling and acting career,
Yeah.
interviews, all the stuff from the podcasting,
Business acquisition,
all of that stuff, dude, debt control, credit repair, all of that stuff, dude. I've learned so much in this year. It's ridiculous. Well, in the course of June, it all started in June.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
June till November, and I'm
November.
still continuing to learn. But the amount of information I came across in just that short of time
Yeah.
at this age,
Mm-hmm.
1%. It's 1% for a reason.
It has to be. That is 1%.
It's 1%
sure.
for a reason, man. Absolutely, man. And it was an absolute pleasure having you on the show, man. I really appreciate that. And that's pretty much all we have for today. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And it will really help me out if you guys will head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review if you like this video. I really appreciate it. Other than that, you guys have a great day.